right, hi, my name is Adam Salamantis, and I'm here with you today to talk about data stories. And we are going to be working on kind of creating some data stories, collecting some data, and this will kind of be a primer for an activity that we will be going through the analysis of in 2 weeks. So my name is Adam Salamantis. I am part of the RCRV project here at Oregon State University. And here is just some info on that. There we go. So to participate in this presentation, please use, we're going to have one poll. You can use the chat to communicate with the presenters or moderators. Also, there is kind of your Google form and a copy of this PowerPoint in the link Google folder. Also, the follow-up to this activity will be 10/22 at 3 p.m. on Zoom. So be sure to chime in for that to see how this analysis works. All right, and if you do follow the link to the Google form, what's circled right there is a high school Google form. There's also middle and elementary, and we'll be exploring those more right now and let you know why we're asking that you fill those out. All right, so as I said, my name's Adam. I'm part of the RCRV program. In the PDF that you'll find in that Google folder, there are more activities that you can click on and link below there in the bottom left. So just wanted to give a real quick project update. So currently, the RCRV project is responsible for providing operating institutions with research vessels. We are funded by the National Science Foundation, and the first vessel was RV Tawny, and that one will be operated by Oregon State University. The second vessel was RV Resolution, and that will be primarily operated by the University of Rhode Island. And then recently, the third research vessel was named for Dr. Gilbert Rutledge Mason Sr. And that RV Gilbert Mason is currently under construction. All three vessels are under construction, but that one was just named, so that is super exciting. And that motto for the ship, Aqua Mari, meaning equal access to the sea. And that vessel will be operated by the University of Southern Mississippi, LUMCON, which is an association of kind of 15 members across Mexico, the Caribbean, southeastern US. And you can read more about that here. All right, so here with the project goals, we're really trying to create the next generation of research vessels, propel the taxpayer-funded academic fleet. So a lot of these research, all these research, especially the one that we're making, are kind of owned and funded by the taxpayers through Congress. So there is, a public interest in what these research vessels are used for, what are they capable of, how do they move the next generation of science forward. And also to help build data literacy. Data literacy is an important part of science, of our lives, as we'll find out with this activity. So that is something to keep in mind. And if you are interested in data, nautiluslive.org /team down there in the bottom left, they have some really cool data that you can find, some really cool data jobs that you can find there. All right, so moving on. All right, so we're gonna be working on our data stories. We're gonna be asking some questions. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna gather and analyze that data. And then next time when we come back together, we're gonna focus on telling your story and trying it out. All right, so what is your favorite ice cream? If you did the previous activity about the build a data sculpture, this one helps you tie in. That one we explored data storytelling. But if we could have that poll up, what is your favorite ice cream? And if there's another one, please put it in chat. All right, we got rainbow sherbet. I'm gonna add mine to chat, gold medal ribbon. And I was actually able to get that the other day at Baskin-Robbins when we talked about the data sculpture activities and our favorite ice cream. So that was super cool. A little bit of surprise. All right. So thank you for sharing out there. It looks like mint chocolate chip, maybe it's cookies and cream. A lot of ones with chocolate in it seem to be very popular. So jumping in right here. So this is that data set that we explored for the Build a Data Sculpture activity. Those instructions are here posted on our website. We did that last week. And we investigated, these patterns of eating, gallons of ice cream and what preferred flavors were. So my question to you is how much more powerful could this data set be if we tied it to a person? For example, you know, my Nana, so she was older, born probably sometime around here, the 30s maybe, you know, so she may have ate a lot of ice cream in the 40s, 50s maybe. But I would be curious if these were the same flavors that existed then, or were there flavors that existed regionally that I didn't get to try or I've never tried because they aren't made anymore. Because even though we have 1,000 people here, I think this other category could be really interesting. So that is something to think about, is how, so the other category right here is how do we use this data and how can we use it to tell stories? Something you may want to know is, you know, maybe these 1,000 people were your classmates or your friends or your neighborhood. So maybe on a hot day, you want to run an ice cream stand. So what kind of ice cream should you sell? Should it, you know, be a ton of vanilla, a ton of chocolate, you know, maybe just toppings and just chocolate or vanilla? That might be a good economical choice. So this data can become much, much more powerful based on, you know, who we can tie it to, what are the interactions. So here are some things that we're going to be exploring in this story. So here is some data that I found that is representing me. This kind of data in these pictures can help you fill out these forms that we have here. And we're going to get into it. But right now, all this data, all these pictures, you know, there's an Instapot there, some homemade salsa, picture of Stonehenge, kind of Dia de los Muertos cars, Pixar car there. So right now it doesn't make a lot of sense to us. So sometimes we have to kind of collect and organize and analyze that data before we can see how powerful, what are the stories that we can tell with it. All right, so moving on to the collect and organizing. So this is where you come in as audience members. So elementary school students, if you fill out that elementary survey, I'm gonna ask you about superpowers, and the salsa will make sense in a second. So if you go to that Google Drive, you would click on it right here. You would come to this page, you would see that PDF, the different levels. You click on elementary school, and then up here, you would see the form, click on it, and come on over here. So I asked that you give me a name. There's a Pizza Planet, another Pixar reference right there. So, you know, what would you like to do in a garden? Me, I have that salsa right there, probably gonna eat it. But what would I want to grow here? So if I wanted to grow the salsa, I would need things like tomatoes. I would need things like tomatoes. I would need, you know, maybe some garlic, onion, cilantro. But then if I knew who else was growing these things, I could know who to contact, say, if I wanted to have a special poblano salsa, or maybe some mango habanero salsa, or maybe no one in my community wanted to grow cilantro. So I could sell cilantro, perhaps at more of the market price. Maybe I want to sell it for, I see it a lot for like $1 for 1 bushel, but I never really use the whole bushel. So maybe I want to sell it $1 for half a bushel and see how that pricing works. So that is something to think about. And then moving on to the next question, that was those superpowers ones. If you had superpowers, what would you use them for? Consider that there. What superpowers would they be? And what would your superhero, supervillain, or super folk team do? I don't know. I was thinking that if we had a super team made of someone who could teleport like Nightcrawler and really fast like the Flash, we would have a really good soccer team. So you can have some fun with it, but let me know. Let me know how that would go. Here you'll see that I had Wolverine, Dr. Doom, a Mega Man hat. That is one of my hologram cards of Wonder Woman. So I was thinking about these superheroes and, you know, if I could take some of their powers, what would it be? And then also to help me think about the garden one, I was like, I love salsa. We just made some. It's good for a year. I have it right over here. You know, what would that be good for? So now moving on to the next survey. So middle school, again, we're gonna ask you about your superpowers. This will be able to compare the middle school answers to the high school answers and see how it varied, how you thought about it differently. And then also moving on over to here, where that picture of the cruise ship and the, what is that there? That is Stonehenge. Yep, that is Stonehenge. So this one we're talking about superpowers and class trips. So with class trips, we would like to know, where would you want to go? What would you want to do? Eat all the food, make memories, Are teachers allowed? I'm not sure. And then be sure to tell me where you're gonna go. And then how are you gonna do it? So you'll notice in that picture, I had a cruise ship that can make a noise. So maybe not the cruise ship because of that big honking noise, but how would you like to travel? So that's something to consider there. So fill that out and let us know. And then next, let's move on back to the high school. So the high school activity here. Again, superpowers, but we're gonna talk about certain brands. I've mentioned Disney, Pixar, maybe something about lifestyle. When I think of lifestyle things, maybe cooking, leisure, relaxation like candles, maybe sports like Nike. So that's something to consider there. All right, so let's get to that one. So marketing and us. So if you had superpowers, again, what would they be? And then think about what kind of industry are you interested in? If you had to create a marketing campaign for. So movies come out with marketing campaigns, new brands. There's a lot of campaigns going around right now around voting. So that is certainly one that we could observe. So I put clothing line, video games, music, entertainment, lifestyle, other. Sports league. So see what you feel about there. What would you add? But also I want to know, what would the goal of your marketing campaign be? Do you want to get people to go somewhere? Do you want to spread happiness? What is your message? What do you want to make it feel like? And then also what kind of social media platforms would you use? So I had an image over here of this Instapot. I really do like the Instapot. It is an amazing kind of thing. So thinking about, if I was sharing recipes, I would probably want to do, I don't think a podcast would help me because they couldn't see that, but I would say, social media. So I might add some social media answers here that I would use. What would you use? And then why did you choose that platform? And then also, how do you want that to feel? So if I came out with a Instapot pressure cooking campaign, I would want it to feel, I don't know, I guess fresh, refreshing, easy. Something enjoyable. So what kind of words can you throw in there to help us tell these data stories? Because then on the 22nd, we're going to be doing these analyzing and sharing and telling and trying it out. So what we will be doing is we'll be using these resources by databasic.io at 10:22 at 3 p.m. to kind of go over, these activities. So for example, if we wanted to know someone by their name that they gave me and, the vegetables they're growing, we can maybe see some clusters, some connections to see, who is everyone in my community that is growing, say, apples or something like that. And then we could think about this data and think about what stories we could tell with it. What are questions we could ask? What are things that we could answer? And then, so moving back over to here. So if you do this activity and you're ready to go, feel free to share on our Facebook page or email and tag us in it. We ask that you kind of just share your items as they were and, just let us know, what is your title, description, is it for the data stories activity? So what is your quote unquote stuff that would help you fill out that survey? And then be sure to share it with us, help us make sense of this stuff in our data stories. All right, so again, help us share that. There is our kind of Google form link right there. And then for educators or teachers that may see this video, if you would like me or someone at Oregon State Pre-College to come and work with your class or your community organization to help kind of tell data stories in this kind of fun, community building way, please let us know. We'd be happy to do that for you. Just email us right here and we'd love to set something up. We can also ask your students, what things they would like to explore together, what things are they doing while they're, in distance education right now or hybrid. So it's a good time to kind of look at that data in a way that it can keep us connected. So definitely reach out if you'd like to do something along those lines. All right, so thank you again from RCRV. Be sure to check out that website with Nautilus Live. And then also, for parents and teachers, if you would like more data kind of focused activities, there are some back here. So be sure to check them out. All right, well, that kind of brings us to the end of this presentation, this webinar. Again, as I've said enough times, be sure to come back on 10/22 and fill out those. we'll be using those kind of activities to compare, you know, your superhero teams, looking at what kind of community markets you would run, what would you grow. We'd also be looking at those class trips, and then also thinking about your marketing brand campaign. Thank you very much. And also another thing that I just thought of is with Halloween coming, if you knew everyone's favorite candy, you could also then think about what you could, you know, if everyone liked Reese's, what could I trade one Reese's for more candy back? So with this data, with that important information, you can get power. So with that power and with those cool stories, we hope that you join us later to tell those data stories. All right, thank you very much. And we'll be seeing you at 10:22 at 3 p.m. Thank you.